You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys. Well, good morning. Today, we've got a in-studio, actually in-living room guest. We got none other than Dylan Stephenson here with Solo Cuts Lawn and Landscaping?
Landscaping.
It's just the landscaping.
Yep, just landscaping.
Dylan with Solo Cuts Landscaping. What's going on, brother? How are we doing?
Great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Well, here, really quick, look at this already. What do we got going on here? We've got from line 3, we've got none other than Keith Kalfas. What's up, brother? How we doing, bud?
What, are you on a podcast right now?
Dude, we're coming in hot after LAL, brother. We're just kind of podcast marathon this Sunday morning. Good morning. How are you, Keith?
Bro, I'm still fired up from the academy yesterday. I'm pacing around like it's still happening inside of me.
You still got the adrenaline rush going on?
Dude, especially at the end of the event, it was amazing. Everything was amazing. But when you tied everything together and you were on stage speaking and your wife and you came up, I had this, I'm watching you and everybody was on one accord and I had tears in my eyes. It was like an out-of-body experience because I can't explain it. When you get, 400 like minds into one room, quantum leaps happen, bro.
Amen. It was an incredible experience. If you guys don't know, we had our live event here just a couple days ago, probably about a week ago, maybe even when this podcast drops, but we're all still coming in hot and it's crazy. I actually just texted Keith really quick. I'm like, hey, you got 2 minutes. I want to get you on the phone. Keith, I don't know if you've known Dylan in person. You guys have probably maybe met once, but I know you would know him if you saw him on Instagram. He's over in Ohio, but the reason is that Dylan in 2019 came to Launchpreneur Academy Live just to set the stage here for live events, right? And go into your story for a quick minute, Dylan. Where were you at that time at LAL 2019?
At that time, I was working a full-time job, 3:30 to 4 in the morning, off at 12 and 2, and then working basically till dark.
Yeah,
9 months a year, hoping to grow.
Doing some stuff in trucking.
Yep. I was working for Gordon's, and then at the same time, I was trying to grow this company to a point to where we could then take it on full time. And then, so I did that for 5 years.
Yeah.
Then went to the first inaugural Launchpreneur Academy Live.
Yeah.
Kind of poured my heart out there when they had the panel. And
what question did you ask? Because you asked something that was like Keith Kalfas and Stanley Dirt Monkey were looking right at you, and you were looking right at them.
Yeah.
And you said something, I don't want to use the word magical, but something transformative happened.
Yeah. So basically, I felt like I couldn't figure out my words or what I wanted to say, but eventually I just got to the point where I was like, how do you do this? Like I'm working a job that people would think I was stupid for leaving because of all the money, the benefits that I was having, but my heart just wasn't there. And I was like, I'm just terrible. This leap is scary.
Yeah.
And it's it was part excitement, part fear, because it's okay, now it's time to make that jump. So I was like, how do I go about doing this? How do I go about doing this? What do I do? What if it doesn't work? And then, that's when Keith and Stan, they started, kind of pouring into me, and especially Keith was saying, he's like, you won't believe the amount of work that'll just start flooding into you now that you're just fully committed into it. And, in 2 years, that's really been the case. So yeah, it was.
What have you taken if you want to talk numbers or as broad or not or whatever? But where were you, LAL 2019, and then where are you today?
So the most I ever did part time in the business, so that 2019 was 26,000, and for the whole year, and then this year, I think we're on track for 120,000.
That's incredible
this year,
dude.
And that's 120 grand.
That's incredible growth. That's awesome. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's something that when I quit, so last year we did 89.
Yep.
And I remember there was a podcast or something, if you did a video or something where I was talking, I was like, it's one thing to hit a number, but come back the next year and to hit that number again is just as hard.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, we did 89 last year, which like, I think last year my goal was like, man, if we could do 60
I think
grand,
it was 60.
I was like, I just doubled my business.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so we ended up hitting that number. And then like, so like coming into this year, I was like, okay, 89,000 we hit last year. Like we're not doing any less than that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
August hits and we're at that number.
Wow.
And, it was crazy this year is like, I didn't pump out. I did a little bit of aeration advertising, but like in the springtime,
Yeah.
like I'm telling you, like I didn't send a postcard out like I did last year.
Yeah.
It just started just pouring in, and
Wow.
like, and then like I was blessed with the cool award that I won in
talk about that
town.
for a quick. Keith Kalfas, this just so you know, we got Keith Kalfas here. Like Kalfas, you're speaking life in the people, and one of your life goals is to speak on stages and encourage people and help them break through walls and overcome the same crap that you were dealing with, similar but different, you know. But tell Kalfas, this is actually kind of dope. So
Yeah.
2 years after Kalfas tells you, like, Kalfas said something like, and I don't know if it was Kalfas or Stan, but somebody goes, "You're afraid," and you were like, "No, I'm not," and they're like, "Yes, you are." I don't know if that was Kalfas. Was that you, Kalfas, that said that? And
Because he was
I
like,
don't know.
yeah, because he was like, "You're afraid," and I was like, "No, I'm not afraid." He was like, "No, you're afraid," and I was like,
no, I'm not. But it's okay.
Right.
That sounds like something Stan would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so this year,
And it's okay. And it's okay to be afraid.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where you were. And you just wanted some reassurance that you could push forward.
Yeah.
And Kalfos was like, "Dog, you're going to do this thing."
Yep.
And I remember like, it was like this really cool, like little Trinity powerful moment going on there.
Yep, absolutely.
Fast forward 2 years later,
Yeah, so
the kicker.
yeah. They have this thing called the best of in our city's Springfield, Ohio. Well, they have this thing they put on every year by the chamber. It's called the best of Springfield. So it's like the best of,
Barbecue.
restaurant, hair salon,
Okay.
accounting firm. Like there's like 30 categories. Well, one of the categories is actually the best landscaper. And I was like, you know what? I don't know. So I got nominated for being in the top 3.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, holy crap. Like,
This could be it.
this is little me got nominated for top 3. Well, then they hosted an event Thursday. It was a Thursday of the GIE because I was only able to stay for one day.
I remember that.
Yep, because I had
Yeah.
to get back because they had the event. And I was like, it probably wouldn't look good on my part.
Yeah.
So
Because you were there with your little man.
my son, Easton.
Easton.
Yep.
I knew that.
Took my son there for GIE. He was kid in a candy store with the equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was so fired up.
So anyways, I go to this event, and two of the companies there, like they're definitely bigger than I am, and the one has actually won it like 4 years in a row. And so they get to our category, and my wife and my mother was there, and they started announcing, top 3 are Gilliman Landscape, Champion City Landscaping, and Solo Cuts Landscaping, and the winner is Solo Cuts Landscaping.
Wow.
And I just look at my wife and my mom, like, did I hear that right? Like,
Yeah.
So we ended up winning the award for the best landscaping company in our city. It was just that moment, because it's like, you just grind it for like you never really, it's hard to like gain appreciation for like what you've done.
Yeah.
And then it's not like I like ultimately like search for my like parents' approval or anything.
Sure.
But then it was like when my mom was there, I like looked at her, and I think that at that moment, unfortunately, my dad wasn't able to be there.
Sure.
But it was like I told you,
Yeah.
like we're going. Like I'm trying to go somewhere with this, and like to get that award, it's just super blessed. And it was kind of like, but man, like the mental shift though. Once I got that, all I could think of is like, okay, there's these 2-3 things like I know I need to work on in my business.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, wait a minute, this is real now. So
Wow.
I don't know, just like a mental shift of like, you know what? Like we are onto something. Let's keep going. Let's go. So yeah.
What do you want to say to Kalfas?
Thank you very much for that encouragement, and to think like people may take for granted like what you do, what Brian does, Caleb Allman, everyone on the social media thing. Like they may you like what you guys are doing is directly impacting folks in their life. Like whether you may not see it or not, it is making a difference in a lot of folks. And like I said, I'm not saying like the Entrepreneur Academy was the push I needed?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Would I have made the leap if I wasn't there? No, but no, you guys are making an impact in the community, and I'm just super blessed to be around the folks that
that's so cool
that have done that. So thank you,
Keith. You're welcome. Number one, but number two, thanks for appreciating it too. I mean, good info out there is nothing but just good info, right? I mean, you got to act on it, right?
Yeah.
And so the recipe is, what you got, but dude, you had to apply it, right? And Kelfus, I know that one of your life goals, and I heard you say it once, and I like trying to help other people, right? Like if somebody's going in a direction where you're going, or maybe from Michigan to Las Vegas, Kelfus is going there, but he's got to cut through Iowa, and my goal is to get to Iowa. I'm gonna jump on his bandwagon and go halfway, right? I'm gonna ride those coattails and go on his wagon, right? Well, he said once at his event, he's like, one of my goals, or maybe it was on a video, was to speak on stages and help people and help change their lives, right? And I told Kelfus, I'm going to do this live event. Hey, you want to come in and share? I go, it's going to be a small crowd, 100 people. We had 150, I guess, or whatever, the first year. And he's like, I'd be honored. And I'm like, for real? He's like, dude, for real. And so Kelfus, I know one of your goals is to speak on stages and to like change people's lives. And I think he's got a gift like this than most people recognize or know or whatever. And the way you communicate, Keith, and the way you're able to share a message, and it's honest, it's transparent, it's authentic. Dude, you're making an impact out there, bro. Like Dylan was bugging me all weekend. He's like, hey, can I get Keith's number? Can I get Keith's number? I'm like, dude, just remind me on Sunday and I'll catch up with you. So he comes over and he's like, dude, I got to get Keith's number. I'm like, dude, let's just call Keith right now, bro. Like we'll do a podcast. Let's call Keith and just, I don't know, Keith, that's what we got right here right now, brother.
Hey man, at the event, Solo Cuts, did I look in your eyes and say, not this event, the last one, I already can tell by looking in your eyes right now that you're going to do it. It's done. I just know it.
Yep.
Yeah. I can tell when I look in people's eyes if it's a foregone conclusion in their brain and it's already done. Right. And when I went to the event this year, I saw your truck out in the parking lot last night and the night before. Big ass truck with the dumper on the back. It says Solo Cuts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'm walking into the go-kart, the pre-party before Brian's event. And I stop in my tracks and I see this truck just parked nice and clean. Huge letters, Solo Cuts.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know who that guy is right now because I didn't match the name with the business right away. But that guy believes in himself, and the truck was just dripping with confidence. I was like, hell yeah, bro. So good for you, man. I'm so happy for you.
Well, it's parked out front, and same thing. I saw it Friday night, and because I saw it on the gram, and because I catch up with Dylan probably once a week. We text or every other week, just keep in touch, of course. And I said, dude, your truck looks, like next level, like top 5, top 10. I said this on the gram 3 months ago when you got it, all lettered up and stuff. But I said, dude, you like top 5, top 10 of anybody I know right now. And he goes, for real? He goes, no, you're just saying that. I go, no, dude, like. Your truck, your marketing, your branding, they read in the leaf and the logo. Maybe you can talk about that, but it's next level branding. But I think it's also, I talked about it a little bit on this weekend when I was doing my speech. I said like the outward is a reflection from the inward. And I think that's what Keith is kind of relating to a little bit here is like, just like the Dylan 2.0 coming in here, you know?
Yes.
When you believe in yourself and you take yourself serious, other people do too. So I think that's what you take yourself serious, man. All right.
Yeah. Cause like the reason why I actually went with a different logo was cause I went through our bank to deposit some checks and the guy's like, oh, I see your trucks running around all the time. Well, this is when we just had one truck.
Right.
And I was like, I was seeing my truck because this is when I was still part-time too. Okay. So I was like, I know, like,
yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, you're not seeing my trucks.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, okay, so what about this logo is very similar to someone else's to where like I'm getting confused as that? Well, I ended up looking up some other company. I was like, dude, take 2 blades of grass out of that thing and
it's mine.
I have this, this is their logo. So at that point I was like, I have to switch something.
Okay.
So I end up getting with our local company in town that does our stuff. And I was like, look, there's some fonts that I love. I said, just a clean font. I don't know. Just like when I see that font, because I was like looking at different ones. I was like, when I see those companies, it's almost like I just think of like a white glove service. I don't know. It just speaks something to me. And I was like, this is the fun I want. And I was like, I want to be all in on the landscapes. So hopefully like my goal is like within like the next 3 years, like we don't do mowing. Like
just
we're
transition
100%
landscaping.
design installation.
Yeah. Smart.
But, I was like, and then they end up bringing this whole thing together. And I was like, that is exactly what I was trying to get out. And, I love it.
Well, you've been trying to get there too, because I know you always, you were doing landscaping, you went into more mowing and you had always wanted to be landscaping.
Yeah.
And mowing's great. Like, pay the bill money. You have a profitable mowing operation, but, it's cool. Caleb says, what is it? What's his line? Like, don't you, get more known of more of what you do or whatever it is. So if you're known for landscaping, it's going to perpetuate that. Yeah. But Kelfus, we won't keep you online too for the whole day. But we we were texting back and forth. I'm like, hey, you got a quick minute? We'll maybe try to link you guys up after the show and whatnot, because I know you wanted to catch up with Keith. Had a couple other questions too. Probably a little bit more private conversation. But Kelfus, what's it feel on the other end of the spectrum? Dylan's living his dream right now. And you're living your life's mission right now too, with speaking on stages and changing people's lives, man. It's kind of, everybody says that, but here's the actual fruit. So what's your quick takeaway? And we'll let you go, brother.
I feel proud, man. I'm proud of you, dog. Like, this is a big deal, and for everybody listening right now, you get that moment inside you that speaks to you that you got to take the leap. Nothing is going to extinguish that fire. It's an inner candle flame that never flickers, and you got to protect that thing, because that little candle flame is going to turn into a huge fire that can't be stopped, and nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. That's what I want to say. So thanks, guys.
Wow. Incredible. Keith, appreciate you more than you know, brother. You did an amazing job, by the way, with your talk, and we're always blessed to have you, brother. And you and Ashley have a good rest of this beautiful, chill weekend. We're actually getting some snow, believe it or not. I'm looking out the window. You guys getting some snow over there, Keith? We got about an inch on the grass over here. What are you guys dealing with?
I'm an hour east of you. It's snowing lightly. We've got an inch coming. And yeah.
It's crazy, bro. There goes cleanups and other late pruning.
People rush and go by Brian's snow plowing course. There's a plug for you.
Thanks, brother. We appreciate you. All right, Keith. Well, hey, have a beautiful day, man. Thanks again for coming to the show and committing to that. And you did an amazing job, and we appreciate you as always, brother.
Anytime. Take care, man. Later.
Yep.
Bye.
See you, man.
See you, brother.
Do you want to keep the cash flowing this winter? Head over to L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com and check out all of Brian Fullerton's new courses and powerful resources to get you cashing in on that white gold through plowing snow. The snow plowing training course is easy to understand, and you'll learn what it takes to do the job effectively and how to bid, price, and estimate snow plowing for both residential and commercial properties. L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com has 3 new resources to take the hassle and guesswork out of securing your snow removal jobs. Plus, there's eye-catching marketing materials that can help you secure new clients quickly. Ready to crush the snow game this year? Visit L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com or use the link in the podcast description.
Keith Kelfus online too.
How cool was that?
I was texting him. I'm like, hey, you got 10 seconds? Because he called me, missed call. I'm like, hey, dude, why don't we just get a little 3-way call here going on, and you can talk to the goat himself on the
that was cool. Yeah, thank you for that.
So going from 26,000, I think you said, to over 126,000, let's say, 24 months. That's good growth. You know, people are like, oh, I want to do 250 and $500,000 a mil, or if I'm not doing 400, I'm a loser. And I'm like, dude, doing 100. Like, I was just doing a podcast. I actually came upstairs when I said come upstairs. Well, Caleb and I were podcasting a little recap show. You guys probably heard that last week. And I said, one of my first goals in business was just to do $100,000 in revenue. And people are like, oh, $500,000 or $1 million, or you're not even in the game. And I'm like, listen, bro, like if I could just get 100, I feel like Donald Trump Jr. over here. You know what I mean? I'm like, and it was just, and it's weird, but I really do believe it's kind of like one of the first revenue benchmarks for somebody who's just trying to go full time, because on 100, you can start net in 20, 30, 40. Maybe you can do a little bit better in that if you're a small company and not a lot of debt or overhead. But that's enough where you can kind of do enough in gross where you can net enough to potentially walk away from whatever you're doing. It might not be a 1-to-1, but it gives you enough time freedom to be able to really commit to the business.
Yep.
And so you started doing 120 plus gross, and maybe you weren't exactly replacing your previous income in net, But with some deductions and running your cell phone through the business now instead of personal, all this other mess, you can really bridge that gap with some tax deductions pretty quickly too. So what did it feel like when you crossed over? You said you were looking at, this was maybe August or something, and the season wasn't even over. Mm-hmm. And you crossed over 100,000.
Yeah, and to say, it was like August, we crossed over what we did last year, the 89.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, and but the biggest thing was just like, it was just mind blowing, because I was just thinking, and it's crazy, but it's something, like I know Caleb preaches when I listen to this podcast. You do too, because I was telling my wife, I was like, like last year, I was like, I was out doing all these like mulch quotes, and we're doing a bunch of mulch. I was like, but this year, I was like, landscape wise, I wasn't running around doing a bunch of those mulch installs. All of our jobs were full, like tear out and landscape installations.
Okay.
So it's like,
was it the $700 things? Was the $2,700 things or whatever?
Like I think like our average ticket for like landscape installation, like our landscaping was probably like $4,500.
Wow.
Like,
so what's a typical job for you guys then? Like a full tear out, replace with shrubs, mulch, rock, edging. You do a lot. You do a lot of that, I know.
Yep. I would say like you're like probably around that 45 to 5, and then then like now we're so we started doing low voltage lighting, landscape lighting.
Absolutely.
And
great margins.
This is our first year doing that, and I think we've done 8 so far, and I have 2 more I think we're going to be getting in this year.
Good for you. Site 1, or where do you go?
No, Sterling Lighting. So they're based out of Virginia.
Okay.
And
landscape lighting?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Low voltage lighting. So
I'm a big lighting fan. So
I love it. It's something that like I was like, oh, it always looks good, when I see houses. I'm like, man. But then it's like I get into it and I'm like, I really love the lighting aspect. I mean, you could send someone out literally in a Honda Civic with a handful of tools they need for that.
Yeah.
And go bang out a $4,000 job in 8 hours.
Do you follow this page? Do you follow this page real life? I'm showing in my phone. Oregon Outdoor Lighting.
No, I have to.
Dude, if you're a lighting guy, this is the best page I've ever found on lighting. I'm trying to get them on the podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Bigger company. They got an army of guys, but the best lighting page I found for real. Because I'm gonna build my back patio one day on this mess, and so I'm like taking the best ofs all over the place, and but if you're a big lighting guy, just a quick, I'll send the page to you actually right now. But
because the big thing with like the lighting and something that I've like noticed is like a lot of folks have a misinterpretation on like lighting because they think like, oh, I can go to Lowe's and get a 7 light kit for $500.
Yep, you
can, and you're going to replace it in 18 months, or you can spend a little more on like high quality. That's like 10-year warranty. Or if you're even going to ever need it, you have a technician now that will be able to do any service call. So it's like just. You kind of got to lead folks into like, this isn't just something you're getting at Lowe's for $500.
Yeah. Small
it's not cheap. Don't get me wrong. Like it's really not cheap.
Yeah.
But you are absolutely getting the value of what you're paying for versus
I have to look them up.
You go to Lowe's and get whatever.
Well, it's funny. It's funny when you go to the expo. There's like the hardscaping side, and I'm looking at like Kichler lighting, and I'm like, I'm taking notes. I don't know. I don't do lighting, but I'm just taking notes, and I'm like, I love how they uplighted this, and they're accenting this tree or like a Japanese maple.
Absolutely.
Got the canopy, and I'm a big fan, dude. Like I love that stuff. What would you say to somebody? We're actually gonna get running here in a minute. We're coming up on 25 minutes, but we're gonna catch up with our boy Paul Jameson. He's at the hotel, just kind of hanging out, and we're gonna go get some food with him really quick. But a quick question, I think one that's really pertinent to you, and then a lot of the folks listening is making that jump.
Yeah.
Right. So what was the thought the day of the week before you made the decision, whether it was a live event or not, that Calfa's kind of interaction or not? But there was a distinct conversation from I'm going to do this to I did do this. So give me that. Whether it was a week timeline in between there or 3 months in between there, what was the commitment going to? I'm going to make the decision to I made the decision. What was that conversation like for other people that want to make the jump?
So I just thought about like all the work we did to get to that point.
Okay.
But then like Keith was kind of hinting at was like there's that flame. Okay.
Yep.
Of that fire. Well, it's like once it went from I'm going to do this to I just put my 2 weeks in.
Dude, for real.
And then it's that 2 weeks is up and it's game on.
You don't work here anymore.
Yeah, and it's like
your check is
it's
gone.
on you, and it's like like he was saying, and I think what he was getting at is like once you make that commitment, that fire in you to like, you thought it was a big drive when you was part-time. Wait till now it's like, now it's all on you and you have to like
perform.
You have to perform. Like it's just a different like mental state you get into to where it's like, you just go.
Was
and you just go after it.
Was it fear? Was it excitement? Was it both?
Both.
Yeah. Or other emotions?
Yeah, because we have 2 kids,
right?
Like mortgage, like we have all the life bills that everyone else has. So it's like all you can think of is like, man,
if it is to be, it's up to me.
Yeah. Like I got to make this work. But something you had said is, and like we had talked about is, it's because like COVID, people were like being let go, like at Gordon's, they had never laid off, like ever. Yeah. Well, they furloughed folks.
Okay.
So it's like, and you think you're in the food industry, so like where are we going to go?
Right.
Well, restaurants shut down.
Yep.
So it's like in a company that you thought was so safe, you were in a sense like expendable. Like there's like, hey, if we don't have to work, whatever. So then it's like as safe as you think you could be, you're not. And that was like a comparison that you made or analogy you made where it's like the safest place is what?
Maximum security prison.
Yep.
But do you have any freedom?
You have zero freedom. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's like
gold handcuffs are still handcuffs.
Yep, absolutely. So but once we made that jump, it was just like, okay, it's go time. And then after the first year, and like, okay, we had a meeting with our CPA a couple weeks ago, just like for like end of the year stuff. So that way we can do like tax prep, whatever.
Well, that's a whole nother tip really quick. If you guys haven't had your conversations with your CPA now, do it now and between December 30th. Yep. Don't do it, January 15th or March. You don't, this is called tax prep. This is you're doing your dry run now.
Yep.
So you know where you're at, when you do have to pay it in March, April.
Yep.
But anyway, I had to say that really quick. That's a great point.
Yep. So, like, even like when I met with him, last week, I was like, okay, you can be brutally honest with me. Like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm doing XYZ wrong, tell me I'm doing XYZ wrong. I need to stop doing this. I need to start doing this. Pay attention to this.
Sure.
Because it's like, I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can for this to be right.
Sure.
Because unfortunately, like, of what like my wife knows of her family, like, this person in her family, like, all they know of business is like not good.
Okay.
So it's like,
yeah,
I just want to make sure we're doing everything right. And she's like, no, you're doing fine. And she said, like, wow. you're young, you're like company wise, what I mean? You're growing. She's like, you just blew it out like 30 grand more work this year. You know what I mean? And so yeah, but
What a chain of events from 24 months ago going, I think I'm going to do it, to
it's so crazy.
The winner of the Landscaper of the Year award is Dylan with Solo Cuts Landscaping.
Yeah.
And getting a round of applause, getting this probably an award or a plaque or something.
Yep.
Are you, where'd you hang it in the house?
It's so funny.
Right next to your 2-week notice,
It was so funny because one of the companies that, like, granted, they were the owner of that company that won it 4 or 5 years in a row. Like, he actually messaged me and said, hey, congratulations.
Wow.
Like, I hope this really helps your business. If you ever need like real advice, reach out. Like,
that's
come
awesome.
on in. So like,
wow.
Even though he was like, who is this guy in a sense?
Yeah.
He was still like supportive and was like, I really hope this grows.
That's
because
cool.
It's like,
that's cool.
Just like you say, like, I'm a small fish in a pond, but like, there's more work out there than what anyone can do with. So it's like, he's just like, good for you, man. Like, attaboy. Like, he probably would like, when he was third year into it, you know what I mean? He was a small fish, and now look at him.
Absolutely. And when you're ready to sell your company, at least you know somebody who wants to buy it.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just messing, but
no, so
never know.
So I told Jordan, I said, hey, I think we should really hang this up in the office.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, like right next to the bed. Because that's where our computer is in the bedroom.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, because like off to the side, like in our bedroom, like we have the computer desk and everything. I was like, yep, exactly.
You got,
not like we got like some executive office.
Yeah. You got the photo of the family next to it, and then you got like your award. It's kind of like,
yeah. So, but no, so it's hanging up there and right above the computer. But
that's so cool, man.
But no, it was really cool to win.
We didn't even get to talk about LAL. 30-second cliff notes. For somebody who's never been, what do you think? Would you encourage them to come back next time? I kind of know your answer, hopefully. But what, like, actually, man, things have really went downhill since the first one,
Yeah.
But what would you say to somebody who Had never been to a conference. I don't think you had probably ever been to something like that before a couple years ago. Maybe in your other career, but not in lawn care, obviously. So what was your quick takeaway of the show? Real quick while I got you.
I thought it was great. And to think like you start off with, maybe 150 people in the first one.
Yeah.
There was well on to 400 this time.
Yeah.
But what's cool is like at the end, it was like, I think Jeff Joyner actually asked like, how many people are here like, that are still working full time?
Yeah.
And like so many hands.
It was at least 15-20% of the room.
If there was ever a moment of that whole thing where it's like, it brought me back, I was like, I remember when I was every one of these guys.
That was me. Yeah.
But no, whether you're full-time into it, you're part-time into it, you're just a lawn bro, like whatever, like you will gain so much out of it. And I was actually talking to your brother,
Adam or Doug?
Photographer.
Older brother, Doug.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was talking to him and, he was even saying like, just because you're not in the lawn care does not mean you cannot apply anything that you heard to whatever it is. And like, I don't care if you're painting walls.
Right.
Of the information that was given out, it wasn't just lawn care specific. It really isn't even.
There you go.
What, maybe Paper Pete was getting some numbers on like installation stuff, but there's just so much value in there. And it's like, if you don't leave there, like
thinking you get your $200 worth.
Yeah. And then you're just like, I just want to tear my business apart and, go wild.
Dude, for sure.
There really is. It's a lot of value. You get to network with a lot of people. You get to meet a lot of people.
Yeah. It's not only the people on stage, it's the people in the hallways, at your table, building those friendships.
Yep. And it's like, if you're going to start coming, better start coming now before eventually when the ticket price is $900.
No. Maybe
because they're filling stadiums.
Right.
But no, really, like the tickets under $200 for what you're getting is it's beyond a blessing. Well, just for that. So yeah,
thanks for the kind words, man. Sincerely, like it's cool to. I take no credit for anybody's success ever because what does Caleb say? You can lead a horse to water, and if it doesn't drink, you shoot it. I think that was his exact words. Maybe not the best advice there, but don't shoot the horse. But
sounds like Caleb.
It sounds like Caleb. But if you guys know the Kid Contractor podcast, always a good time there. But that's the thing. Like you can give people all the info in the world, but you still got to go out and apply it. You still got to make it yours. You still got to dig the holes, lay the mulch, mow the grass. I mean, we still do that every single day. And but it's really cool to see. If my selfish, I guess, little takeaway, like even in your story example is, I put on this event that I got to bring a Keith Kalfas in. We probably barely knew each other, maybe over a year or so when you first came to LAL, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
We weren't like besties or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you came up and, we got to know each other more, obviously, this last 2 years.
Yeah.
But selfishly, I'm like, dude, I brokered this like connection. Like this dude got to fulfill his dream of speaking on stages to change people's lives. There's this random Dylan guy who came in there. He was like living on a prayer. I want to do this thing. And then, dude, 2 years later, you won freaking landscaper of the year in your town, your city, which is no small feat. You do really great work. It wasn't like, hey, you got a good one-off, I'm sure they didn't just assess your one job based on his portfolio of one job, but you do great work. So it was just really cool. Like, I guess my fun thing is always like just kind of brokering little deals here. And I'm like, I can link people up and to see you winning, to see Keith winning, to see us all on this good ship, never give up, if you will. It's really, really cool, man. So
absolutely.
Really quick, any last things you want to say while we got you? But appreciate you being here in time. But my stomach is grumbling. If you heard that a minute ago, I'm ready to go get some food.
No, thank you for having me on the podcast. Thanks for inviting me in your home to do this.
Yeah,
it's always glad we can get together when I'm up here.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Jordan, just if you're listening to the show, because Dylan probably fed you this one. Hey, he's a great dude, as you already know. But make sure you give him like an extra birthday cake or a high five or something for his awesome accolade here. Right. I got to put one in there for the bro. I
appreciate that.
Does she know like what it's like being married to Landscaper of the Year? I mean, how does this work?
I don't think it's fully set in yet. It's still new.
And she's right there. I always believed in you.
Yeah. I knew you could always do it.
You were gonna do it forever.
Yeah. I know that time away has been so nice.
Yeah. All those nights and weekends were worth it. All y'all listening to know what we're talking about there. So you're working late again? Well, it rained for 3 days. I don't care. I haven't seen you for a week. Probably won't for another week. Sorry. But all right, guys. Well, that's funny right there. We'll button it up right here for this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, guys. If you want to learn some other great content and shows or recaps from this whole event, maybe look back a couple episodes, maybe look forward for the next couple episodes. Paul Jameson, Green Industry Podcast, he had a couple great, I think he did like 14, 15 podcasts.
Man, he was burning them up yesterday. Like every time I stepped out to use the restroom. There was someone else on the podcast. I mean, he was. I think
I can't wait to check those out.
Yeah, and it's the speakers too. Like
he got some of those debriefs when people are hot. So they're still fire breathing. Keith the day later still shadow boxing at his house, walking around in skibbies, running around. He's probably like, man, I'm gonna he's already doing his next speech for next year. So if you guys want to come to LAL 2022 or whatever we're gonna call it, and wherever it's gonna be, make sure you guys get your ticket when they do go on sale, and bring a friend, bring a bud, bring your spouse. We do our best to, like you said earlier, Dylan. It's hard to articulate what you're gonna get and what the whole event is. Mm-hmm. It's like we say it all the time. It's like listening to the CD versus being there in person. It's the same kind of song, but it's not the same event. It's not the same experience, and you gotta go. So that's what I got for you guys on today's episode, man. Short and sweet. And what are we getting? Steak? We getting some chicken wings? What are we doing here?
All the above.
All the above. Living like the 1% now. There's landscaper of the year. It's always good to see how the other side's living. So
south of the border.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. Well, we'll button up right here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. We look forward to catching up with you guys here on the next one.
It's Marty, and Brian asked me to thank each of you who participated in his Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale over at LaunchpreneurAcademy.com. The response was fantastic, and we are just psyched to see how these resources will make a difference for your bottom line in 22. I do want to remind you that right on through Christmas Eve, you can still save 20% on the whole ball of wax. That's a $200 savings with the promo code ALLIN20. That's ALLIN20. The link, of course, in the show notes. And something new that we are starting is highlighting some of the best segments from our fellow podcasters in the space, like this from the kid contractor, Caleb Allman.
And I don't have Paul Jameson looking over my shoulder or anything like that. So I can do whatever I want with this show, and I'm going to do whatever I want with this show, and it's going to be a mess, and I'll probably be embarrassed of it. But VP Racing Fuels expands operations in Tennessee. So $14 million expansion in Huntingdon, Huntingdon, Tennessee. That's a place. It's literally Huntingdon. Huntingdon, D-O-N, Huntingdon, not Huntington. So I don't know if that's a typo or what. That's interesting.
Learn to read with Hooked on Phonics, the musical reading program.
Hooked on Phonics works for me.
Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.